Welcome to the fourth in the series, Managing Your Project. This is a rough guide to your project design considerations. First of all, think of a broad area of interest. Look for similar problems, issues, challenges or opportunities from the projects that are available in the library. Conduct a short literature review. Consider what is good practice in the area. Think about issues and considerations. Then derive your aims and objectives, the areas for investigation, what you anticipate the results are going to be. This flow diagram demonstrates the stages that you need to go through. One of the problems with flow diagrams is they are an oversimplification of reality. So you might select the issue for exploration, select a topic, is it feasible? Is it of sufficient value? Is it sufficiently attractive? And it's a snakes and ladders, and if the answer to any of those is no, then you go back to selection of a new problem, issue, challenge or opportunity. The first step in doing a management project is to get a project. This diagram, though it applies to a PhD, is of equal value to the MBA. The principles are exactly the same. So we start at the period that you are now at a stage of maximum uncertainty. That derives throughout the whole process stages of field of interest, possible topics, pilot study, thesis proposal, data collection, final write-up, thinking about background theories, focal theories, data theories, contribution, to the minimum uncertainty. The point about this is the only time that you have any form of certainty is right at the end of the management project. So what you need to do is to feel comfortable with the uncomfortable. And it's only right at the very end that you know what your management project is all about. On a previous presentation, we discussed this idea that the management project is always written in retrospect. It's always written as if it was going to be that way. So we have some thoughts around the evolving research process. First one is that of serendipity, making lucky and unexpected finds by accident. Secondly is to bear in mind, as we said from the previous slide, that your maximum certainty is at the end of the project, and get used to the idea that if you're not confused, you're not learning. You're not making advancement within your management project. So it's about being comfortable with the uncomfortable, and one of the suggestions that we're going to add a little bit and derive a little bit later on is don't be what I call a last minute Larry and leave the management project to the last minute. It's far too important to procrastinate. The other thing to think about is whether your research is diverging or converging. So diverging means that you're going in different directions, which is fine at the beginning, but towards the end it needs to converge. This is a diagram that I find quite handy in terms of ideas opening up on the top right. You investigate, look at the frameworks, you're theorizing, and that is the element of diverging, whereas the left-hand side of the diagram is about converging, and it's important that it converges. So in converging, you're thinking about plans, closing down, it's about experimentation, writing up actions and doing. It is a creative process, and it is at times frustrating. So one thing to think about is the Zeigarnik effect, that if you start a project and leave it, you're bound to think of it more frequently than after it's done. People remember uncompleted tasks or interrupted tasks better than completed tasks, and there is a reference to a Harvard Business Review article there. That is not the same as procrastination. This is deliberately taking a break, going out for a walk. If you stress yourself too much by leaving it to the last minute, then you can end up in some strange places mentally, let's just say. Other thoughts around the creative process is from Smith, where there is initial work, there's an impasse, a delay, and then a sudden insight. So when you are writing, leave time to reflect, to do some sort of chore in between, to break things up so you're not spending all your time writing, but obviously don't spend too much time doing the chores because that's called procrastination. And another set of different stages is about preparation, incubation, and illumination. So you need to give yourself time to be able to go through that creative process, time to be able to reflect, and time to be able to write quality material in as short a space of time as possible. And speaking about procrastination, this is a diagram which I took from project management, which shows the difference between Japanese engineering and Western engineering. The Japanese plan a great deal beforehand, whereas the Western way of implementing engineering solutions is to leave it to the last minute. Do be aware of displacement activity when you are doing research, and that is when you think cleaning the shower head is more important than sitting in front of your computer. You're probably procrastination. But do be aware it is a creative process as well to give yourself relevant space, but also realise when you are actually procrastinating. Finally, in this section, I highly recommend that you look at this TED Talk from Tim Urban, where he's talking about Inside the Mind of the Master Procrastinator. It's an excellent TED series presentation, and do beware the procrastination monkey.